All right, so this morning we are looking at specific data related to the mock STAAR test that we did with our sixth graders and in preparation for the STAAR test coming up. And we're gonna look at this data to determine what needs to be retaught, whether it's a whole lesson or a warm-up, or what do we think will best reach our students in the short amount of time that we have prior to the STAAR. So you have your data here sorted by class.
Yes.
And then by question,
Yes.
correct? Okay, and then we have a copy of the STAAR test here to look at. So which one first should we look at?
Question 16.
Okay. So, yeah, and then there was a vocab one we were gonna look at earlier. Question 16 says, read the sentence from paragraph 1 of the selection. A massive mission gives you the sentence and then supports the idea in the sentence. So this is a concept of them having to go back into the passage.
Yes.
And find what the idea was. Is this something that they struggle with as far as like pulling out a broad concept or a specific concept for this?
Well, I think this one was more specific
Okay.
because it's just this one sentence and they need to compare it to see how it's similar. What other quote from that paragraph or sentence from that paragraph is similar or is supports that idea. And they struggle with that, I think, more like we talked about, more than the broad things. It's more specific. So it's like going back and really looking at this and how those two sentences are more alike.
Right, okay. So yeah, that's something that we can just reminding them to go back into the passage.
Yes.
For whatever reason, I don't know if it's when they're online or paper pencil, I don't know if that makes a difference, but something about going back into the passage, we'll just have to keep driving that home to them. There was also a vocab one we wanted to look at.
Oh yeah, that was number
6 maybe?
let me see when we looked. Was it 4? Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, yeah. So what does the word futile mean in paragraph 8? So again, another specific paragraph is mentioned. So they've got to go back into that paragraph. So what are we going to do? Because you noted that several had missed that one.
Yeah, well, some of them, well, this was the practice. Some of them didn't use a dictionary, which they had access to that. And then when they take the STAAR online, they're going to have access to that right there with them. So we have gone back and I've showed them use this dictionary online that you'll have it right there. Plus we have the books, the dictionaries that they can also use in case they want to use different types of dictionaries.
Yeah.
Also, we've been doing lessons on context clues with vocabulary words.
Good.
And it'll be just 2 sentences, multiple choice. They have to pick what the word means, and then they have to give an explanation of how they figured that out. Or
Good.
like text evidence from the paragraph or the sentences.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is getting them to use the dictionary. Like I always tell them, like that vocab word, go look it up. Like that, they're giving you that resource. Use that resource. And again, I think it's that going back into the paragraph, using the dictionary, going that extra mile and using, putting a little extra effort.
And I told them, I said, I know you get confused because there might be 3 different entries, 4 different entries of what this word could mean. I said, but you have to use the context clues around it, the sentences before it and after it, not just the sentence that it's in, to figure out what that word will mean.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good idea. And I think that's great that you're spending time this week in class using context clues, because that will help not just vocabulary, but a lot of the questions on here rely on context clues. So, all right. So what was the other one that we wanted?
34.
Okay. Here we go.
34 is
No, that was the best summary.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, here, about, it was 32 and 30.
Yeah, 32, yeah.
Let's see.
33. 33 on this one.
Yes,
this
the
class.
organizational pattern.
Yes, organizational pattern, yes.
Yes, so a lot of kids missed this one.
Yes.
I mean, in this one class, only 4 out of 11 kids got it right. Yes. So definitely something we need to look at.
Yes.
Basically, you're saying that they need to go back, and if they would have read paragraph 7 through 10, again, a very specific place in the story, they would have seen that it showed that the specific steps that this expert
Exactly.
takes. So how can we practice identifying, bless you, bless you. How can we practice with them organizational pattern? Like what can we?
I think even when they come in the room, we've been doing this, they have a quick write where we'll have a paragraph and they'll have to go through and see. I think, and they're also being thrown off with organizational pattern. I think they're looking in too much to that because when it says, how does it help, they're asking, how does it help you convey the information? Or how does it help convey information from the text? And they're getting thrown off with organizational pattern, like, oh, what does that mean? Or what does that, you know? So I think
It's taking away from the actual
it's a
question.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think that would be good to practice.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, giving them maybe some different examples
Yes.
of organizational patterns, but also
Right.
not focusing on that, but really focusing how are they conveying information in this paragraph.
Right,
Like they kind
right.
of tell you what organizational pattern is. It's how
Exactly.
the information is
Right.
conveyed. And maybe just give them, this is only a few paragraphs, 7 through 10, and they're not even a full, like major paragraphs. It's really just
Right.
a
And
few
it
lines.
is, it was talking about the pepperologists and how the steps that they take to unroll the paper and how they had, and so it was really, I thought that one they wouldn't struggle with, but I don't know if it was the wording of the question that threw them off more than anything.
And I think that definitely plays into it. And so we've got to help them not get caught up on those kind of testing words,
Right.
so to speak. And really, because they would have understood that
Oh, yeah.
it seems pretty straightforward. They also could have gotten tripped up on the whole papyrus.
Yeah.
May not be a word they've heard.
Right.
And so I can see where that would be distracting to them. And then there was one other one we were looking at. Was it papyrus? What was it that we... Main idea. So you feel good about all those other ones that they...
Yes, they did really well on main idea.
Okay, good. Sometimes...
Which is, to me is more broad, so you would think they would struggle more with
Yes.
that. It was more specific things that they struggle with.
Yeah, so I think there's that continual go back, practice,
Yes.
look back in there. One of them you're talking about, they said, I think it was on that question about the rare treasure.
Yes.
And talking about if they didn't know what rare meant, we hit this one.
Yes,
There,
32.
in paragraph 1, why does the author call the papyri in the box a rare treasure? And saying that some kids got caught up on that.
Yes.
And so I think just going back and reminding them in this next few days leading up to STAAR that they can look up any word.
Right.
So utilize that dictionary
Right.
if you get caught up on something. But at the same time, we don't want them using a dictionary on every one of them.
Right.
Because they'll slow them down. But I think just continuing to remind them to go back into the paragraphs. Don't get caught up on the kind of testing words, so to speak. Really think about what is the question asking. And then, use that dictionary.
Yes. And I think they struggle too a lot with inferencing. And in some of these stories like this one, they had, for inferencing, you use your background knowledge and then the text evidence, but they had no idea what this was.
Right.
So that was foreign to them. They've never heard of that. They didn't, even there was a story about the Grand Canyon. Well, some students have been there, but most students that we teach haven't had that opportunity to do something like that. So that was easier for those kids because they could actually picture it and know exactly what they were talking about. And so they have to rely more on really looking things up if they're not familiar with things.
Right.
And hey, even though you don't know what that is, or you've never witnessed anything like that, or you've never seen this, you still have to be able to
Use context clues.
use context clues about what they're talking about.
So it goes back to this. I think that's really good that you're doing some lessons on that. I know we had a passage we worked on that was on about a hurricane. And I thought,
yes,
our kids will ace that one. Can we have a story about
Exactly.
that one? Because they definitely could relate to that.
Yes.
But you're right. A lot of them don't have, their world is Mauriceville in this little town, and they don't have the broader perspective. So that's why I think like that papyrus story is not a hard story.
Right.
But when they get hung up on the vocabulary or something, it can be confusing and get them distracted. Well, I think overall, the benchmark or the mock test that we did, I think it was good for them because it gets them, kind of in the mindset of what's going to happen on the day of the test. It also lets you and I and the rest of the team look at the data and determine in these last few days what are some things that we just kind of need to really focus on and get them best prepared. So
Right.
overall, I think it's going to be good, and they just have to remember to go back into the stories and
take their time and
use their resources.
Yes, that's there.
Yeah, well, you're doing great, so keep it up, and
All right,
it's going to be good.
All right, thank you.